Crazy Town time. Since we're speaking of weasels, it's Joe Biden on his Irish roots. Oh, I can't wait to find out.
Good gravy.
How many times he's been to Ireland? How many potatoes he's picked?
Used to be a leprechaun at one time.
He probably used to be a leprechaun. He's got a pot of gold hidden somewhere.
No doubt.
Probably
Created the rainbow. Yeah.
Crazy Town. Gee, let's go.
Every St. Patrick's Day, every Irishman goes out to find another Irishman to make a speech to. Well, that's why I'm here. I was trying to think. I think I've made almost every one. Don't get hurt, man. We need you. You okay?
That was actually funny.
I stand here today, like most of you, as a descendant of the Blewitts of County Mayo and the Finnegans of County Louth. I was telling the Taoiseach that when I would have as vice president, I'd always have a breakfast for the Taoiseach before he'd go over to see the president for those 8 years. The 7th year, I think it was, Nance, that went in, the Taoiseach, I brought him into the Oval, he sat down, and before Barack could say anything, he said, for God's sake, Barack, let the boy come home. Let him come home. I'm sure to God, true story. And he said, you keep sending him to places like Afghanistan, Iraq, and let him come home. And you have to help me with the Gaelic expression, 100,000 welcomes. What's it? Céabhí le Facha. And he said, he'll get 100,000 welcomes. And it was one of but they didn't plan on my bringing my whole family. I was saying that being raised by a grandpa who went to Santa Clara back in the days when Irish in Northeast Pennsylvania didn't very much get a chance to go to college. And he was an All-American football player at Santa Clara. And he came back as a newspaper guy on the business side. And my grandfather used to say that, every time I walk out of his house in Scranton, Pennsylvania, when I lived there for a while. He'd look at me and say, Joe, remember, the best drop of blood in you is Irish. But the fact is that when I went over to Ireland, it was a great experience. I'd been to Ireland many times, but not to actually look up to find my actual family members. And there were so many, and they actually weren't in jail. And one of the things that the Finnegans are from County Louth. And there's still, if you go to County Louth, there's still a place called Finnegan's Pub, which is, Reverend, it's related to my family. Now, I'm the only Irishman you ever met, though, that's never had a drink, so I'm okay. I'm really not Irish. I, like all of you, take pride in my Irish ancestry. And as long as I can remember, it's been sort of part of my soul, how I've been raised. There are values I learned at my grandpa's kitchen table, where he would always, my grandpa's kitchen table, particularly on Sunday after 10:30 Mass at St. Paul's, you get to wander around the table. You never got to sit down when you were a kid. But he had 4 sons, and they'd sit there, and another guy from the newspaper, a guy named Tommy Phillips, who was sort of at the time the David Broder of the Scranton paper, and they'd sit there and they'd talk.
Oh my God, this story
one
is
day, I'm sitting there and talking about a guy that I didn't understand why he was sticking up for him, and he was the city chairman of the party, whose son was the city chairman when I ran for president, at any rate. And he was always in trouble. He was sort of like a late Mayor Daley, a brother-in-law on the payroll kind of thing. And so I couldn't understand. My grandpa was Mr. Rectitude.
Corn Pop was
I
black
couldn't
Irish.
understand why he was, liked him so much.
Does the story
and
have
he reached
a
up
point?
and you could wander the table. He just couldn't sit. He put his arm around me. He said, Joey, come here. And I knew this was about to be a public lesson for Joey. And he said, you're wondering why I like Patty. And I said, no, Grandpa, no. He said, no, you're wondering. I said, let me tell you something. He'd look at you and say, Ambrose, I'm going to cut your heart out. And he'd mean it. Or Ambrose, I'm going to jump off the bridge for you. Whatever he said he'd do, just remember, do what you say. Do what you say. The biggest thing for
sound
my
like good
grandfather
ideas,
was, Joey, never bend, never bow, never kneel, never yield. Never, never. I used to drive Barack crazy because I'd always say to him, Mr. President, the country will never be more optimistic than their president. It's all about hope. And simply put,
ends soon.
I
How
think
about
it's
that?
the Irish of it.
I don't even know what that was.
That had to be
That was the worst. Crazy.
the worst
ever.
story
I'm sorry.
he's ever told during story time.
The worst.
I want to apologize to the audience. I actually yawned during that
I can see
twice. It's contagious.
I almost passed out. That was terrible.
And you believe he never had a drink? I don't believe that.
No, I don't believe
He's
that for a
lying.
second.
No.